a window of opportunity for entrepreneur students. As you know, the NCERT is organizing a weekly Facebook Live and YouTube Live session on innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup for IGNOU students and faculty. It covers different topics of common interest. The program aims at encouraging and motivating IGNOU students towards innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup. The 20th session in this series, titled Business Incubator in Educational Institutions, a window of opportunity for entrepreneur students, is being organized today. Incubation is the process of nurturing something that is in its infancy or early stages so that it grows into a useful thing. The word incubation can be traced to the medical sciences or life sciences. Incubation originally means to keep alive. Essentially, incubation has been used to keep premature babies alive under protective conditions in a specially designed space called an incubator. This word has been borrowed and used in defining an environment where new ideas or innovations are kept alive. An incubator protects and nurtures an idea or innovation till the time it reaches the market and is established. An incubator not only supports innovation, but also helps it to be converted into an enterprise. Because eventually, the enterprise will generate employment for the growth and development of the society. There are different types of incubators, such as academic incubators and business incubators. Today, we will know more about business incubators and how they have become important today for educational institutions. To deliberate on this topic, we have with us today's expert, Professor Amit Garg. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Amit Garg to you. Professor Amit Garg is a professor in the Department of Electronics, Acharya Narendra Dev College, University of Delhi. With more than 25 years of teaching experience, his areas of interest are new materials for gas sensing, water purification membranes, harnessing of solar energy, laser material interaction, and science education. He is a member of several national and international academic organizations. He is the author of many research papers and has presented his research work in many national and international conferences. Professor Garg has been honored with many prestigious awards, such as the INSA Project Award, Most Promising Innovation by University of Delhi, and Teacher Excellence Award for Innovation, to name a few. Professor Garg is also the chairman of ANDC Instart Foundation, a Section 8 company to promote incubation of startups. And today he will be sharing his experience of incubating students' ideas through his endeavor. I welcome you, Professor Garg, to today's talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Momita Das, for such an elaborate introduction. Thank you, Dr. O.P. Sharma, for leading NCIDE to achieve new heights. The type of motivation and the structure that you have, you can say, carrying on is really remarkable and really praiseworthy. And I'm very thankful to you for providing me an opportunity to share my experience as the chairman at a business incubator in an educational institution, Acharya Narendra Dev College. So I'll be discussing with the students about my experience and how they can basically take the benefits of the incubators at educational institutions. So a complete go through. I start with my talk. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so the title of the today's talk is Business Incubator in Educational Institutions, a window of opportunity for the budding entrepreneur students. So we have a business incubator at Acharya Narendra Dev College, which is funded by Government of NCT of Delhi. So I'm going to, you can say, discuss in today's talk about you can say why there is a need for the incubators, business incubators in educational institutions. Then the incubators which are established in the educational institutions, how they are basically going to help the students in the institute as well as the people outside the institute in carrying on with their innovation, and how one can get inside these business incubators so that you can nurture your innovation, your business idea into what you call as startups, and what are the various opportunities that are available to the startups as part of the business incubators. Then I'm going to talk about the different startups which are working, you can say, or which are being incubated at ANDC Instart Foundation, as well as I'll try to share some of the startups that are being incubated at other business incubators which are funded by Government of NCT of Delhi. So this will be the complete, you can say, the layout or the journey of today's talk. So I'll first of all give you a brief about the business incubator that has been established by by the Directorate of Training and Technical Education, Government of NCT of Delhi at Acharya Narendra Dev College. So this is a business incubator that was established in towards the end of 2016 or beginning of 2017 in the college. And so far, the government of NCT of Delhi has established 11 such incubators starting from 2015 and 16. Though primarily across the country, we have most of the incubators which are being funded by Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, and now under Atal Innovation Mission. So we have various incubators being established. So this was an initiative that has now started paying dividends. So first of all, that is the business incubators that have been set up in the educational institutions, especially the 11 incubators that I am talking about, or ANDC Instart Foundation, which is one of the incubators under this category. So they are not the incubators which work under the project mode. They work, you can say, as a defined professional entity, as a Section 8 company. That is, this is a company which is not a profit entity, and its core objectives are to promote entrepreneurship, innovation, and startup. So these are the core objectives of this particular company. And being a non-profitable entity, so there is no, you can say, paying off any dividends to the shareholders. So whatever the profits or the income that come to the company is reinvested back into the incubator so that we can have, you can say, an entrepreneurial culture being harnessed. More and more startups can be supported. So that is the basic fundamentals. So all these incubators have been established as a Section 8 company, which works very professionally. Now, before talking about, you can say, the advantages of these business incubators in colleges, so let us first of all, you can say, take up with a bit of the gloomy situation that we have faced earlier, and now we are turning this gloomy situation into a rosy situation. So, so far, means if I just look at the academic sector, and we have ultimately went on to set up the business incubators in the academic institutions. So, if we just go back and review some of the challenges that have been lying in front of us, so in general, students as well as researchers in the academic institutions often lack the capacity to innovate. And the basic reason for this lacking approach is that our institutions are, you can say, more and more theoretical knowledge based than imparting the hands-on or the practical knowledge to the students. So that leads to that they don't have any or very less hands-on experience. So they are very, very apprehensive to do any type of innovation. And if we look at, we carry on a lot of research activities across educational institutions. So barring a few educational institutions which are ranked very high in the country, again, the research outcomes are such that we are not able to, they are not working on the cutting area technologies. So we are not able to, you can say, translate any of our research into something which is in the form of marketable products or services. So we are more into, you can say, churning out research publications than churning out the marketable products. So this is one of the big challenges. And secondly, another thing that needs to be very seriously considered over here is we have very minimal, you can say, risk-taking capabilities, or we are very much afraid of the failure. And as we know, any entrepreneurial activity is not possible without taking the risk, or you can say embracing the failure. So if one is not in a situation to take risk and is afraid of failure, then he can't be an entrepreneur. So whether it is a support from any elderly advices from home, or within your institution, everyone will say, yaar chodo, क्यों इतना रिस्क लेते हो, अपना चुपचाप जाके कोई नौकरी पकड़ लो और अपना जिंदगी को आराम से बिताते चले जाओ और अपना स्मूथ सेलिंग करते चले जाओगे. तो if that particular mindset is there, then it becomes very difficult to, you can say, promote this entrepreneurial mindset in the institutions. And we know everyone cannot be an entrepreneur, only a few can be the entrepreneur. So we should have a system where a person is motivated to, you can say, take on the high risk activities and should not be afraid of the failure. So that can help our cause. Then the third most important point that we have is the markets in India are underdeveloped. Underdeveloped in the sense that we are not very much receptive to the new products, or so that the innovation can diffuse inside the markets. We only go by the brand names. अगर मुझे कोई चीज चाहिए तो अच्छा इस ब्रांड की बनी हुई है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, मैं इसको चुपचाप खरीद लूंगा. अगर उस ब्रांड की नहीं बनी हुई तो ठीक है, सोचते हैं खरीदना है नहीं खरीदना है. तो जो एक इनोवेटर है उस इनोवेटर के लिए there are many factors which will make him do innovation or which will make other people do innovation. Because आपने कोई product बनाया और उसको let us say after prototyping and all that process आपने market के अंदर launch कर दिया उस product को, तो what you want is you want a feedback from the market कि आपका जो product था वो क्या था. अगर लोग उसको इस्तेमाल ही नहीं करेंगे, if the people are not going to use that, so the person is not going to get a genuine feedback. तो प्रोडक्ट में क्या कमियां हैं, क्या अच्छाइयां हैं, उसको नहीं पता चल पाएगा और वो अपने इनोवेशन को और क्या रिफाइन कर सकता है. he will lose that particular opportunity. दूसरा, अगर लोग उसके प्रोडक्ट को ट्राई करेंगे, so every innovator is looking for some sort of investor, some sort of mentor or customers. तो वो सारी की सारी चीजें हमारी जो हैं, they are very much interlinked with each other. तो if the markets are underdeveloped, then the innovator is going to be, you can say, facing all these challenges. So that is another challenge that we face. Then if we talk about the talent, means there were a lot of experts. I'm just taking or referring this from a DST report. So they have interviewed many experts. They were, you can say, the people in the government sector who were running the entrepreneurship for so many years. They were the CEOs of many companies, investors. So what they feel is that in our Indian university system, there is very much lack of innovative, cutting-edge technical ideas. So the startups that are emerging from the academic institutions are lacking onto these particular fronts. Whereas if we compare this to the US university system, where it is very much a knowledge-based system, so since they are exposed to cutting-edge research, they are rich in instrumentation, the facilities, etc. So they have more access to all this. So they have many innovative technical ideas which are coming. So there are a lot of new ideas, new technologies which are being churned out of the educational institutions in countries like US, etc. So we are somewhere lacking behind in, you can say, providing this type of new ideas. But for every challenge, means if we just left on or leave on to the challenges, they will always remain challenges. We need to convert challenges into opportunities. So with the establishment of this startup entrepreneurial culture in last few years, all these challenges can be turned into opportunities, because there is no other place other than university and higher educational institutions which are most conducive for, you can say, starting of the incubators. And the biggest of the assets that we have in any university or higher educational system is that we have the availability of technically trained students and the faculty. So we have the technical manpower available with us, and thus this knowledge spillover from the educational institution can be a big resource for the incubator. So that is one of the very, very important considerations for opening any business incubator in educational institutions. And there is no other way than the startup revival until or unless they are linked with the universities, because universities come with many inbuilt features and the facilities which basically are required for, you can say, having this particular culture being revived. So if we have, you can say, the incubators established within the educational institution, so what we'll have is we'll have the incubator that will have many startups within the educational institution. So the students who are there in that educational institutions, or the students and the people who are around, so there will be, you can say, a direct linking, means the students will be linked to a sort of industry in the form of the startups which are being incubated within the campus. So there will be a lot of exchange of ideas, thoughts taking place within the companies and the academia. So that will be of great help to the educational institution as well as to the incubator and to the growth of the incubator, and it will lead to additional innovations. So ideally, if we look at from where the most of the innovations come, startups come, so the undergraduates have, you can say, the most potential in generation of the startups. Then we have the postgraduate or the doctoral or the postdoctoral students. So that is there. So by establishing the incubators where we have, you can say, so much startups being incubated, we have they being frequented by so many established entrepreneurs. So there is a direct linkage which is being established, and that linkage is very, very much fruitful to both students and the faculty to work on their, you can say, innovative ideas. They may be IT based or in science and technology, and they can derive new business models, and you can say go on to become job creators instead of the job seekers. So with these interactions, the students are greatly benefited that whatever they have learned in their theory, it can be, you can say, complemented through these incubators. And since the startups which are, you can say, aligned to the market needs, the societal needs, so students get straight guidance of their ideas which have business potential. And normally the role models of the students are their teachers or some of the peers. But when so many established entrepreneurs visit the incubator, the facilities over there, so the students will have role models which will be outside the academia. So they will be motivated, the peers will be motivated to take the entrepreneurship to the new level. So that's why there was a need for establishment of the business incubators in educational institutions, and that has happened. And specifically, I am talking about or focusing rather onto these 11 business incubators. So the basic objective of establishing these business incubators is that India is a youthful nation, and there is very much requirement to satisfy the aspirations of the youth. So if we are able to, you can say, spur innovation in the students, it can lead to, you can say, many startups being created. And if we have, you can say, properly mentored startups, so we can aim to create globally competitive products and services. That is what we are aiming at. Not only make in India, that is our objective, but we should make best that we can, you can say, send across the world. And at times, though we get the jobs, but we don't get the job satisfaction. So if you are doing something which is of interest to you, so it will provide you with the exciting job and career growth opportunities. And by the establishment of the incubators, a formal system, formal, progressive and comprehensive platform is in place where any budding entrepreneurs, the student community from the host institutions, their alumni, their faculty, and people or other entrepreneurs from outside the educational institution can take advantage of these incubators to hatch up their ideas, their innovations, and turn them into some sort of startup. So, as we talk about the startup, so just going by the basic definition of the startup, as per the Ministry of the Commerce statement. So, startup is an entity that is incorporated or registered in India not prior to 5 years and with annual turnover not exceeding 25 crore rupees in Indian rupees, 25 crore rupees in any preceding financial year, and it works towards innovation, development, deployment, or commercialization of new products, processes, or services driven by technology or intellectual property. So this is how the basic definition of a startup goes, and it is quite you can say elaborate definition of a startup. So if we look at the startups, so we can have startups which are IT based. We can have startups which are non-IT based. They may be science and technology driven startups. There may be startups which are product based. There may be startups which are service based. So in India, many of our startups are service based than they are product based. And when it comes to the incubator, you may have startups which require funding from the incubator. We may have startups which don't require any funding from the incubator. So we call those, they just require mentoring and other services. So they are what we call as the non-funded startups. So we have both type of startups existing in the incubator. So at ANDC Instart Foundation also, we have both funded as well as non-funded startups present. So the basic function of the incubator, so it is a complete, means the incubator has a complete holistic role in each and every way to the entrepreneur and the startup. So whether it is in form of the infrastructure support, so the infrastructure support comes in the basic form of providing the working space to the incubator. So at places we have a sort of tenant relationship with the startup, that is they are charged a nominal rent, but they are provided with the working space, power, etc. So all those things are provided as part of the infrastructure support. And the most important one, the second one, that is the benefits of the host institute. So since the incubator is established in an academic institution, which we are calling as a host institute, so the host institute has, you can say, infrastructure which is already in place in the host institute, whether it is in the form of seminar halls, conference rooms, video conferencing facility, etc. So that is available. And most importantly, as I said, the host institute is the pipeline to the business incubator in providing the trained student and the faculty as the manpower. So that is there, the library facilities, the lab facilities, etc. So they are all available in the host institute. So you can say with a proper understanding with the incubator, all these facilities can be extended to the startups which are being incubated. Then the biggest role of the incubator is in providing the mentoring support. So that mentoring support may be in the form of, you can say, validating their ideas, their marketing strategies, hand-holding in terms of any technical support that is being required by the incubatee. So that's the role of the incubator, to provide the mentoring support. Then when we talk about the funding. So in the case of the funding, the incubator, as I told you, you can have startups in the funded category. So the incubator may provide some seed funding to the startup so that they can work on their prototype, they can work on their business model, they can work on their marketing and all that. So that is, it can provide seed funding to the incubators. Then networking and outreach. So whether it is promotion of the startup, and that promotion may be through the designated partners that the incubator has, the digital media, the social media, the different tie-ups which the incubator has, connecting them to various investors, venture capitalists, angel investors, etc. So all that networking and outreach has to be, you can say, handled by the incubator, so that it greatly it greatly helps the startup, and it reduces their burden in reaching out. Then the technical support in form of the technical instruments that are available with the incubator, high speed internet connectivity, the desktops, the laptops, the computers, the printing facilities. So all that type of technical support on sharing basis shall be provided by the incubator. So it basically eases out the burden on the startups, and they are able to focus more onto their innovation, their idea, their business model, and can take advantage of this. Then, as I told you that these business incubators have been set up in a very professional manner. So we have a very professional setup for these incubators. So there is a decision-making body, that is what we call as the board of directors. So board of directors, they consist of people from academia, from industry, from the investors, from IPR sector. So like that, we have, you can say, the board of the directors, which are into the decision making for the Section 8 company established as an incubator. Then at the ground level is there is a management team, the executive team, which is in direct day-to-day functioning, as well as hand-holding with all the startups with the incubators. So the chief executive officer or the chief operating officer at some places. So these are the two key figures who are basically masters in the entrepreneurial activities, culture, startup. So they are there for day-to-day interaction, and you can say going or helping the startups wherever they require, in arranging the meetings, in you can say preparing their business models, ideas, their promotions, arranging meeting with the investors. So they are a big help. So there is a professional management team that is available besides the other support staff, so that the day-to-day, you can say, the progress of the startups is being helped out. So normally, any incubator, you can say, will have a complete evaluation process. So that evaluation process normally starts with the receipt of online applications. So that mode may be different in different incubator, but most of the incubators these days prefer online submission of applications. So I'll just show you one, you can say, the model of application that we people use at our incubator. So once the application is submitted, then that particular application is screened. That's what we call as the pre-evaluation. And in the pre-evaluation, if we see that the idea is good, but the business model or the application has not been properly prepared, So the initial mentoring of the, you can say, the applicant starts from there, and we may have multiple rounds, iterative rounds, where the application is, you can say, modified. Modified means is upgraded so that it becomes worth considering for further evaluation. So afterwards, if the application is of the desired level, then it can be sent for final pitching. And if the application was useless, it can be dropped. And thirdly, the most important point is the pre-incubation mentoring. That is, an application has been submitted, but it requires mentoring. The idea is good, but there are multiple loopholes that needs to be plugged. So that the applicant is taken as a pre-incubatee, and mentoring of that pre-incubatee is done, and he is prepared for the big day when he will be pitching for, you can say, in front of the evaluation panel. So that is a very, very important aspect. So some of the applicants are taken as pre-incubatees in this phase. Then afterwards, what we have is the evaluation panel is created, which is at our incubator, which is very much domain specific. So the application belongs to which particular domain. So we'll have an expert panel called as the evaluation panel, which will be evaluating that particular application. So the applicant pitches for his idea in front of the evaluation panel. The evaluation panel prepares its recommendation, and it is submitted to the board of the directors, who further take the decision. They consider the recommendation of the evaluation panel and take the final decision on the application. So that is there. So if we just look at, you can say, is my screen visible? Application for the incubation?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. So you can see here, if we just look at this, so initially it contains your general details, and then your team members detail, because this is very, very important part. Then your startup name and whether your startup is registered or not registered, because there is a requirement that for consideration in the incubator, your startup should be registered. So if it is not registered, the incubator will help you get it registered. And then it is very, very important that what is the stage of the company, whether it is at only the idea stage, or whether the idea has been validated, or whether the product has been developed and is in the market. So whether it is an early traction stage. So all that particular thing is being captured. So what is the outline of the problem is which problem you are addressing to, and what is you can say the intended market or the customer for that. What are the products which are available? So who are the competitors of you? The solution that you are providing. What is the special about your idea? About the client acquisition, about the business plan, your investment requirements, then your budget files, your pitch, and any other document. So this is basically the basic application that any incubatee has to fill in before he comes up with the evaluation at any incubator. So the incubatee should be well versed about what are the evaluation parameters that are there. So first and foremost is the soundness of the idea. That is, how sound is your idea, how innovative it is, what type of problem it is addressing, the solution that you are providing. Then after the ideation stage and the validation stage, whether the prototype is ready. So if the prototype is ready, so basically we are reducing the technology risk, that whether the product will be developed or not developed. So prototype readiness is another important evaluation parameter. Then the third parameter again is very important, your quality management team. So if you think to enter into an incubator as a single individual, so it becomes very difficult. So if you have a team, that team may be, you can say, the core team, the higher team, you can say outside the core team. So you have the technical competence to develop the prototype. You have some sort of management skills to market, etc. So the quality of the team is very, very important. So basically, to reduce the execution risk, there is a requirement of quality management team. Then the strategic relationships to reduce the market risk, and that is if we have to scale out and we have to the product rollout or the sale. So all these you can say are important points of consideration for any incubatee, and he should give due weightage to all these parameters before you can say going for pitching in front of the evaluation panel. So the journey is not easy. You can see here, I'm just sharing our data of ANDC Instart Foundation. So we have so far evaluated 71 proposals, and so far we have, you can say, we have 16 startups with us. So the rejection ratio is quite high. So in 2018 we have 9 incubators, 19 we have 4, 22 and 21 we have 1, and then for last almost 2 years now, you can say 1.5 years, we have this pandemic going on, which has hit the incubators quite hard. So things have bit slowed down, but I can assure you you can say the enthusiasm, the morale of the incubators is still going on very, very high. So one of the most important things that I was talking about is pre-incubation, because for final pitching, you have to go through the complete process. But at ANDC Instart Foundation, we believe that all ideas are good ideas, and they basically require some sort of, you can say, touching, so that they can be converted into something actionable. So what we do is, that is any budding entrepreneur means any student of the host institute can be directly taken as a pre-incubatee. Second thing I told you is during the application process, if we feel that there is an idea which is a sound idea, but it needs a bit of nurturing before final pitching. So what we do is we take them into pre-incubation, where we validate their ideas by carrying out the market surveys. We arrange expert interactions and mentoring sessions. We adopt the design thinking approach to, you can say, articulate the problem statement and evolve the solution, so that they are in a stage where they can basically take their idea for final pitching and to be, you can say, included as an incubatee in the incubator. So specifically talking about the avenues for the IGNOU students, because our Indira Gandhi National Open University is a very, very big university which has a huge chunk of students. So we have a large number of students, and many of the students belong to that mentality where they are looking for, you can say, this entrepreneurship thing. And the type of courses that are being offered at Indira Gandhi National Open University are having a very, very wide range. So I'll share some of the startups with you. the different startups working in the different domains. So one is the direct approach, that is any of the IGNOU student can directly approach any of the 11 incubators that we have, and he comes in general. Second thing is the Indira Gandhi National Open University can enter into an MOU with the business incubator, where the students who are validated through an internal system can directly join as pre-incubators. Dr. Sharma, we were previously discussing that we have a lot of, you can say, internal systems where we can recognize students who are meant for entrepreneurship. So can you just elaborate one or two of your schemes that are there?
First of all, I would like to thank you for giving this offer to join hands with IGNOU. In fact, as you know, we are already working in this direction, and we have a very huge base of IGNOU students who are really interested in doing something at their own. In that context, in fact, we have some schemes like IGNOU Udyami is a kind of scheme which we thought of starting just to identify those students who are really interested in doing something in the field of innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup. So that way we are getting a large number of those students who are really interested in doing this thing. But certainly they need some sort of guidance, support, training, and also one-to-one mentoring and handholding. And I think in that context, the help of incubators like your business incubator or others will be very useful for our students. And you know, because our students are spread all over the country. So we need to collaborate or join hands with not only with the ANDC, but with many other such incubators from all over the country. So that is, and in addition to that, we have been organizing other programs like recently we organized a business plan competition. There again was an objective to identify the potential innovator entrepreneurs, and we have got few one. And similarly, we initiated a scheme of idea to startup. There are also some of these, many students, in fact, they applied, but we shortlisted few, and then we are nurturing them. We are doing a kind of hand-holding with them, one-to-one mentoring, and then, yes, the proper incubation support, if it is provided in the form of a systematic, well-organized way, then I think along with some seed money. Because in our case, the main weakness at the moment is the seed money, and also to provide them some sort of technical support. Like some of them, they want their website to be developed or some mobile app to be developed. And for that purpose, not only money is required, but technical support is also required. Yes. So these are few things which we are doing, and then I think this kind of collaborative effort may help those students.
Definitely. So I think incubators means your students in Delhi, NCR, they can means that these business incubators can be of great help to them. So means you can think on these particular lines that how we can strengthen this particular relationship between NCID and the business incubators within Delhi, so that the really talented students which you have validated in your system can be can join as a pre-incubatee and can be nurtured in the incubator, and perhaps in some time he can have his own startup also. So I'll just take 5-7 minutes more to just share you some of the other incubators that we have in the Delhi region. So as I told you, we have around 11 incubators which are funded by Government of NCT of Delhi. So ANDC Instart Foundation is one. So we have in Delhi University, we have 2 incubators. One is at Acharya Narendra Dev College with the name as ANDC Instart Foundation, and then another one at Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. So another incubation center is there. So then we have some incubators in the technical institutions like Delhi Technological University Innovation and Incubation Foundation, Netaji Subhash University of Technology Innovation and Incubation Foundation, then Indira Gandhi Delhi Technology University for Women, so they have it as IGDTUW Innovation Foundation. So these are the incubators. Then another one that we have is in Triple ITD Innovation and Incubation Center. Then Ambedkar University for social entrepreneurship, we have this, means they promote the social entrepreneurship very much. So we have this Ambedkar University of Delhi Center for Incubation, Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Then in the pharmaceutical side, we have Delhi Pharmaceutical Research, Science and Research University. So they have their Innovation and Incubation Foundation. Then Bhai Parmanand Institute of Business Study, Knowledge and Innovation Foundation. Another one at AICTR, which is now NSUT East Delhi campus. Then a recently one, the Delhi Institute of Tool Engineering, Diet Innovation Foundation. So like that, we have these 11 incubators with us within the Delhi region. So you can, means the IGNOU students through you, or if they feel to directly interact, so like any other student, they will be welcome. So these are some of the incubators that can be approached for hand-holding of the deserving students which you are churning out from your system. So I'll just take you to, you can say, means the type of the startups that we have. So I'm just taking you to the website of ours, ANDC Instart Foundation. So you could see the different type of startups that are working. So as you can see, this particular startup is working in customized notebooks and stationery. So this is a non-IT based startup, this Elpida. And this is he's our own student, Fiction Booms and Films, again an A&D alumni, and he's into creative content creation, video, etc. Then we have this V-Park, means he's making the entire parking experience cashless and paperless. Sponsor Champs, they are providing AI-based data-driven marketing platform for approaching different sports persons. And MetV, this is another of our very successful startups. So this is for connecting people to people who can solve your problems on the spot for a face-to-face interaction. And another one, this Khiladi Adda, he is our student, and he has created, you can say, a gaming platform using quizzes, leaks, etc. And जिसको कहते हैं ना हम लोग, जैसे हम अभी बात कर रहे थे, challenges to opportunity. So COVID has hit most of the startups, but this startup has really come out of this, you can say, period, because they were providing the leisure online gaming platform. So they have really succeeded. So like that, we have 16 startups. Similarly, you could see we have different startups. You could see this I am talking about the Triple ITD, the Innovation and Incubation Center. So they are basically into deep machine learning, AI-based startups. So you can see this one is there. Another one which is working in the culinary medicine. Another one which is working in e-platform for law providing thing. So like that, we have, you can say, different types of startups. For example, the DPSRU startups. So they are into health sciences and pharmaceuticals. So biomedical device and prosthetics ka hai inka ye startup. Sports and physical well-being of an athlete. So you can see we have a variety of the startups being present. For example, you see one at NSUT. So they are providing a call, want to call a hairstylist, makeup artist, or beautician at home. So they are providing this facilities through an app. So like that, you can see, means we have all type of, you can say, categories of the startups being incubated. So you can see this one is at Delhi Technological University, DTU. So they are providing a hardware and cloud platform as a service. So power management unit, etc. So you could see 17, 18 May, they have around a revenue generation of 46 lakhs. So what I basically mean to say that in the present incubators that we have across the academic institutions, so you will find all variety of the startups. So your students, you can say, will find it conducive to approach any of the incubators based on their idea, because you are having students from diverse background, diverse courses. So there is something that can always be, you can say, done. And this is what I would like to end up with. So thank you so much for your patient listening and giving me the time to present the incubators at educational institutions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Garg, for that wonderful talk. In fact, you have given us a clear, detailed, and valuable roadmap to proceed in the direction of facilitating our students for converting their ideas into startups. In fact, your talk will also be useful for our aspiring students in understanding what processes the institution follows while nurturing their ideas to startup. So that they can take appropriate steps in their journey of startups. So thank you very much, Professor Garg. I would like to invite comments, suggestions, observations from our participants here. But before that, we have with us Dr. O.P. Sharma, Director, NCIDE. I would like to request Dr. Sharma to say a few words, please, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Momita. And it was really very enriching and enlightening talk on incubator, business incubator, particularly if we look from IGNOU's point of view, many things which we were thinking how we can do, you have elaborated on them, and I'm happy that in fact, you already had given offer to collaborate with IGNOU. We would like to certainly work in this direction, and as I mentioned just now, many of our students are interested in doing something good in their life, particularly in the field of entrepreneurship and startup. And in that context, this kind of support from the incubators will be very helpful. And because you are already incubating such ideas and students, and I think the networking with those already successful innovators will also be very helpful for them, because our students are most of time working in isolation. And if they are interacting with a similar kind of people with same kind of mindset, same kind of ambitions, then I think they can do better, they can think better, differently. So it's a good thing to get your presentation today, and I'm really thankful to you. It will be good, Dr. Momita, to listen from our participants also. If they have anything in mind, they can comment or give some feedback and suggestions. And particularly, I would like to request our regional centers also, because sitting here at the headquarters, we can interact or contact with the people like Professor Garg in NCR. But if we want to serve our students throughout the country, I think they'll have to help us. They'll have to those students. What kind of model they propose us, they suggest, that also I'll be happy to listen.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. In fact, I'd like to inform Professor Garg that we have representations, participants from almost all over India here. We have regional center Kohima, Regional Center Nagpur, Regional Center Shimla, Regional Center Patna, and Regional Center Vatakara, Regional Center Bangalore. So almost everybody across India
That's great.
to you today. We have provided the comments in the chat box also, and I would request you to go through that. And we have our Regional Center Vatakara who wants to ask a question, Dr. Rajesh.
I hope I am audible.
Yes.
A very good morning to all of you, and thank you for NCA. I particularly want to thank NCID for this initiative which they have taken on coming up every Friday with a new topic where we are made aware of a large number of issues in this vital area. And thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was an eye-opener basically for me because I am a novice in this particular field. So thank you for that wonderful presentation, sir. One thing that stuck my mind, especially when I just went through the incubator application form that you are presenting on the screen, is that if you have to be a successful incubator, then that particular institution or the, in fact, proposing agency has to have a good interdisciplinary background, especially in the research aspect. I will just explain my point in a second or so. For example, even if you have a good product coming up, unless and until you have a economic evaluation of that product as to where the, points of maximization of production and so on are, and the commercial evaluation on the other part, you cannot really roll out that product. And once it comes to your end, it will become difficult for you to actually evaluate that on a common plane. I think that is one of the reasons why the failure rate for products is quite high. As you are just mentioning, out of the 71 projects that you have evaluated, only 16 have come out successful. So maybe in your guidelines as such, this interdisciplinary evaluative process of various products should be built in, so that the institution which goes into this process itself, first of all, does this kind of homework. And when they actually prepare for the product on their side itself, this interdisciplinary approach could come out very well. And this is especially important in the case of mixed products, like which have of course, which are technologically driven, but which illuminate the side of law or social sciences and all that. You are giving examples for some such products like legal services and all that. Mm-hmm. So in that aspect also, this interdisciplinary approach becomes quite important, I feel. And my request to O.P. Sharma sir is that we could, in our university, build this kind of an interdisciplinary framework where we can actually have a committee going into proposals which have experts from all the departments. We have 21 departments for that purpose, and we are really lucky to have that. And we can have experts from all those departments, and we can evaluate various projects on various sides of that project, and then forward the particular proposal for consideration to agencies like Professor Gertz. This is my this is my humble suggestion, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajesh. In fact, so far what we have been doing, that's we invite applications or some ideas or some suggestions for the startup or entrepreneurship. We evaluate at our level, and then we are now inviting the expert of the concerned field from the concerned school. They are in fact guiding, mentoring. That practice we have started. But yes, your suggestion is also well taken. If there is an interdisciplinary approach, then we'll have to invite the people from different other discipline areas also, that we will be doing. And then if this kind of proposal is accepted by the university to provide our students the support of incubator, then certainly we will send only those who are very, very well properly filtered out. They have good potential of converting their ideas into a successful entrepreneur. Then only we'll do. And in that context, this approach of interdisciplinary evaluation will be helpful. We will take care of that. Thank you very much for the session.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Garg, would you like to respond to?
Yeah, it's a very useful suggestion. I think we should take this into consideration, and definitely it is going to improve the system, and the failure rate will definitely become less.
Thank you. Do we
Thank
have
you,
any
sir.
other
Thank you.
observations or questions? We have Regional Center Bhopal.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Momika. Am I?
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. Please proceed. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So first of all, thanks to the resource person for today's program, who has given such a detailed account of how the incubator actually functions. And but one thing which Dr. O.P. Sharma also highlighted, and my observation is that networking between different incubators across the country, not only between one educational institution and IGNOU, because this expertise and the resources in country like India are very heterogeneously distributed in different educational institutions. And therefore, it would be very nice if all the educational institutions can develop a kind of an online platform, or a kind of which we can call an online incubation kind of networking. That would be very nice. So my request to our resource person is that can you give us some kind of ideas about how these kind of online mechanisms can be developed, or since it has not been developed anywhere in the country so far, but IGNOU has been contemplating for a long time to do it. So in what way it can be done, or how useful do you think that it can be?
Actually, if we look at this COVID thing has, I think, helped us a lot. Means the technology embracement that might have taken years for us has been done in days now. So we can conduct, you can say, because the situation is very different when it comes to incubators and things like that in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, because these are quite prevalent in tier 1 cities. The things go down in tier 2 and tier 3. So I think this thing has already come into place, where we are having you can say online mentoring sessions being conducted. Means once you are connected with an incubator, means that may be local to your region, or that may be far off from you, but if we have a relationship being established, so those problems can be handled quite well in the online mode also. Means if mentoring, technical help, etc. is required, if some physical instruments, etc., or something of that particular thing is required, then an appropriate arrangement can be made, where the incubatee can visit that particular incubator to avail that particular facility. But this online thing nowadays, I think, is not a problem, and it is already in place. So only thing is that you have to identify the correct, you can say, sort of incubatee, and then you have to align based on the USP of an incubator which is there. For example, if one incubatee has requirement in AI, so we are also working in AI, IIITD is also working in AI. So as per your requirement, you can align that particular incubatee to that particular incubator. Only thing that is required is that we should have an you can say institutional tie-up, or institutional linkage should be there, so that we are not unknown to each other. So otherwise it can be easily handled.
Thank you, Professor Garg. We have Dr. Abhilash Naik here. Would you like to ask something, Dr. Naik?
Sir, namaskar. First of all, thank you very much for this wonderful and enlightening presentation. Sir, I have just a common man's question for you, sir. The application form that you showed to all of us for the incubatees to apply for an incubator, is it for your organization or it is a common application which can be used by all the startup people?
What I can say is the basic form will almost be the same. Means this is particularly to our incubator only. But what will be there is almost 80-90% of the information that is asked will be common across all the incubators. So what I showed you is specific to ADC Instart Foundation, but this much I can assure you, 80-90% of the information that we have asked will be there in almost all the application forms across the incubators.
Right, thank you. It will be really useful for we people, more than students. Right. It is more useful for the faculty members. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, do we have any more questions or comments? We have Regional Center Bhubaneswar also here. So, if you do not have any other questions or queries or observations, we'd like to end the session, Dr. Sharma.
Yes, Dr. Momita, we can conclude today's session. And it was really very useful and interactive session, Professor Garg. And I hope we will be working in close collaboration soon. Thank you very much.
It will be a great pleasure, and I would like to extend my warm gratitude to NCID and Dr. Upi Sharma, Dr. Momita Das, and all the faculty members who are involved with NCID. My big congratulations to you for जिसको कहना चाहिए मशाल उठा के चलना और इतने सारे बच्चों को रास्ता दिखाना और मोटिवेट करना जो है. So it's a great work. So in whatever way we can be beneficial to you or helpful to you, we'll be honored and privileged to do so. So please don't hesitate in any way. So thank you so much.
मुझे डॉक्टर गर्ग एक बात बताइए कि जैसे ऑफिशियली जब तक कोई भी प्रोविजन बनता है
जी,
अगर हमारे स्टूडेंट्स आपके साथ में जुड़ना चाहते हैं तो कैसे जुड़ सकते हैं?
सर कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, आप हमें जानते हैं, हम आपको जानते हैं, जो है मतलब बच्चे तो सारे हमारे ही हैं ना जो है.
हाँ.
तो वी आर एंटरटेनिंग डायरेक्ट स्टूडेंट्स एज वेल. तो मतलब आपकी साइड से आएंगे तो अदरवाइज ऑल्सो जो है
कुछ मुझे लग रहा है कि कुछ स्टूडेंट्स के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हमें आपके साथ बात करके they need immediate support in some other terms.
Not a problem.
Technical हो सकता है या कहीं सीड मनी की भी हो सकती है, कुछ थोड़ा सा अगर इनिशियली मिलता है तो आई थिंक दे कैन डू बेटर.
मतलब वो हाँ अप्रोच कर सकते हैं सर. सीड मनी वगैरह की जहां तक बात है उसके लिए तो जैसा मैंने आपको एक फॉर्मल प्रोसेस बताया वो
नहीं, वो ठीक है, लेकिन जब उनका अच्छा एक आइडिया होगा तो आगे बढ़ सकते हैं.
हाँ मतलब है, उनको अगर कोई मेंटरिंग और नर्चरिंग की जरूरत है इस तरीके की जो है तो डेफिनेटली दे कैन कम अप. और हमारे पास अपना जो एस्टैब्लिश सिस्टम है, दे कैन मेक यूज ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम. जो दैट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम सर.
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, we can conclude today's session.
So I thank our expert, Professor Garg, for sparing his valuable time to give this motivating talk. I thank all the directors and heads, regional directors, faculty members, and academics of IGNOU for attending today's session. I thank Dr. Rajesh Sharma, head of the Public Information Unit, for providing NCIDE with the Facebook Live platform and ensuring the smooth conduct of this program with utmost dedication. I thank Dr. Upi Sharma and my colleagues, Dr. Jyotsna Dikshit and Dr. Sujata Santosh, for their untiring support. I thank Mr. Pawan Kumar for extending his assistance in the smooth conduct of this program. So this brings us to the end of today's session. We hope to see you next week. Till then, namaste.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Namaskar.